What's going on, guys? It's been a while. So today's video we're going to be looking at the new 3D keyer within Davinci Resolve 17. We're going to be going over how to use it, if it's any good, and my opinion. I mean, if you don't want to watch the whole video and want to know my opinion, do I think it's good? Yes. Also no. Also yes. Also no. Let's get into the video. So here we are on Davinci Resolve 17. Yes, welcome. And I'm going to be showing you how exactly we're going to be using the 3D keyer. First and foremost, why is this such a big deal? This is a huge deal. It enables you to green screen and key your footage right within the edit page. Now this is very important because before, if you wanted to key green screen footage, you could do either within the color page or the fusion page. We're gonna have a video out very soon about which method of keying out green screen footage is the best. So look out for that. But that is not this video. This video is all about the new 3D keyer within Davinci Resolve 17. So now we got that out of the way, how do we find it? Well, it's in the effects tab. So if you go to right here, top left corner, click onto effects library. If you scroll down, you'll be able to find Resolve FX key. And all we need to do is drag this onto our footage. Bang. Now I'm going to drag this into all 4 of our clips. I have 4 clips at the moment for most common green screen scenarios when you're going to be editing using this method. So we've got a clip here. We've got kind of like a stylized clip here, words coming onto the screen. We've got a weather reporter here. So again, this is a common use for green screen, and also memes, because memes. So let's get started. We're going to start with the doggo footage, because who doesn't love dogs? Unless you're a cat person. To which case you may be a serial killer. But I digress. Let's get started. So how do we start keying out our green screen footage? Very simple. Click onto our clips, make sure your inspector is open, and then navigate to effects. Straight away you can see we're presented with this menu here which says 3D keyer. And here you'll be presented with the controls to get started. Now essentially to get started you're going to need to start drawing onto your clips. It's kind of like using the magic mask. You're going to draw a small line and enable the system to use its giant brain to start keying out the footage. As you can see, when I start to draw, nothing's happening. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. Now with certain Davinci Resolve 17 effects, in order to start using some of them, you may need to go to the bottom here, navigate to open effects overlay. And now if I start drawing a line, you can see it working. Now essentially right here we have 3 different controls. We have the pick tool, which once selected enables you to do your first color stroke. So once you do that, you're able to isolate an initial key, generally highlight the areas with the most type of green, because normally with green screens, depending on how it's lit, you may have different hues of green. Ideally you want one giant hue of green and one tone, so it's easier to key, but that's not always the case. So if that's the case, you'll use this initial pick tool to select the most common or the biggest hue of green. After that, you're able to continue to draw lines onto the other hues or different tones of the green. And that's done with this tool, which is the add tool. Now essentially, automatically after you've drawn your first line of the pick, it will swap to the add tool. You're unable to use the pick a second time, because if you click onto the pick once more, it will reset all of these lines and start again with an initial color. So once that's done, again, it will automatically swap to the addition pick, and you can just draw lines. You can just draw lines, the parts where you believe have green that you can key out. Again, you're not going to get this perfect every single time. Speaking of which, you should see we have a subtract pick. Now this doesn't work how you think. It doesn't allow you to get rid of any of the lines. How it essentially works is it will put back in the green or the key into your footage. So if I draw a line, you can see that it's putting back in some of the green key. So again, this might be what you want, this might not be what you want, but as far as I can tell, there is no way to get rid of any of these lines individually. You're going to have to do the whole key again. So to do that, you can either press the reset tool here, or you can press the pick tool again and just draw a new line. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to draw a little line across areas where I think I can get a decent key. Okay, straight away we've got this. Now you can see here that we have key and options. I'm not going to go over the color spaces for another video, but you can see we have despill. If I hover over despill, it says it corrects for greenness and blue screen color leakage. Now what does this mean? Essentially what it means is, imagine you have a person, in fact, imagine we have this person here, right? And we are keying out this green screen footage. You might see that there may be a little bit of green on her face or reflections. As such, despill will essentially try to adjust for these colors so there isn't much color leakage onto the subject or the background. So that's what despill does. So if we go to here, you can see that if I press it, it probably won't do anything because there isn't too much spill on our subject or around our subject, but it may color correct the background and change it from green to say yellow or red. So if I press this, that's exactly what it's done. So again, there are certain situations where this is going to work perfectly and you might be able to just press the spill and the key's done. But for this instance, it's not the case. We're going to find an example very soon within the next 4, which this is going to work. But essentially that's how despill should work. You actually have a lot more parameters with despill normally. Since this is just an effect that you can do within the edit tab, you don't have as many customizations as you would have within the Fusion tab, which is part of the reason why I think this may not be the best or most effective key, but I'll hold my reservations and my judgment until the end, but I'll tell you my conclusion. Let's continue to get on. So right here we have the matte finesse controls, and here's where you'd really tweak your controls to get your key right and looking really good. Before we do that, however, if I scroll all the way down, you can see we have an output. By default, it's showing me the final result. So this is what the key will look like as a final result. So if, for example, I grab some footage, I grab this footage in a cloud now, you can see that this is what the footage looks like because the output is the final output, right? Go back to the effects, which by standard, this looks not bad, but you can see from before that it's not a perfect key at all. If I were to put other footage in there, you'll be able to see here, it's not the perfect key. We've got some artifacts here, some splotching, and it does not look good. So back to what I was saying. Here at the bottom, it says output final composite. There's an alpha highlight and there's an alpha black and white. Now I personally like the alpha black and white very much so because this is an important feature, which is also kind of similar to the status feature within the Delta key. Again, the Delta key is the most powerful key in Davinci Resolve 17. I'm going to have a video dedicated just for that keying method. But essentially how the status and this alpha highlight black and white actually works is everything which is black is being keyed out. So if I go back to final composite, you can see everything which is in the black region is being keyed out. Everything which is in the gray region is actually transparent. So it's almost keyed out, but not quite. I'll go to final composite, and as you can see, and everything which is white is being shown. So that's basically effectively being shown within the key. So if I go to final composite, you can see the dog is completely solid. He's being shown. He's not see-through. He's not keyed out. He's completely being shown. So this tool is essentially very, very powerful in getting the perfect key because straight away you can see whereabouts your key may need some work. So right now we're going to leave in alpha highlight black and white, and I highly suggest you do this whilst you're adjusting the matte finesse controls of your key. So right here you can see we have denoise. Essentially people tend to denoise the image before and after their key in order to get a much cleaner result. It's much easier to pick a color out of a key if there isn't as much noise. Also sometimes after you do your green screen footage, it may introduce noise into your image. Again, I'm not going to get into the very specifics because that's for the Delta keying video, but generally speaking, people tend to denoise the image just a little bit. So I'm going to go off to final composite. I'm going to denoise the image just a little bit. There we have that. Okay, great. Next we have clean black, clean white, blur radius, and in and out. So if I clean black, straight away you can see we have an amazing key, but I'm going to go back from final composite into alpha highlight black and white so we can see this in more detail. If I click clean black, you can see that the black regions are absorbing any gray or white noise. So if I clean black, you can see, bang, we have a much cleaner key. If I go too much, however, you can see it's eating into our image, which is not what we want. It's actually spilling into the white parts of our image. So if I go to final composite, you can see that we have this effect. It's where the edges seem to be fairly transparent. If I drag footage over it, you can see that's correct. The edges seem to be fairly transparent, which is not what we want. We want it to be fairly defined. So I'm going to go back, click onto our footage, go down to effects, go back to alpha black and white, and I'm going to make sure that this is not blurred. Go back to effects, matte finesse controls. I'm going to go back to clean black. I'm going to do it just enough so that it gets rid of some of these splotches, and that looks okay to me. Now clean white does the inverse. Say for example, we have parts of our image which may be a little bit transparent. Essentially, it will take any gray areas and transform it into white to get you a better key. This will be much easier shown when I do the green screen of this footage here. But for now, we're not going to play with that. Now black and white clip, this effect respectively raises the level in which grey becomes black and white. So say for example we have this part of the image here, you can quite clearly see that this is grey. So if I adjust the black clip and I move this up, you can see that it's turning this grey into black. Now this is very nice if you have a key which isn't necessarily perfect and you still have any grey areas. Respectively, white clip does the exact same thing. So we're going to move this up. We have the operation and shape modes, and essentially this enables you to grow, shrink, or open your key using these parameters here. So say for example, I wanted to cut into my key, I'd use the shrink and I'd increase the radius. And as you can see, we are cutting into our key. These operation modes are fairly simple. Next, you can see we have the garbage map. But before I show you that, I'm going to change the output back into Final Composite. We're going to have our doggo flying through some water. And as you can see, we have this. And it's actually not bad. Right now, you can see actually, we have a little bit of green spill within our image. And this will be perfect for the despill method that we showed earlier. So if I press this, you can see that it's actually corrected our image and we don't necessarily have any green spill onto our subject, which is perfect. So I'm going to press despill. This is the perfect time to use despill. Bang. And as you can see, we have a fairly decent key. Fairly decent. Anyway, we're speaking about the garbage mat. Essentially what a garbage mat is a mask that can be used when keying in order to isolate specific areas of a key. So say for example, I wanted to show the dog and up to here of the chair, but not necessarily the legs of the chair. That's fine. What I could use is a garbage mat in order to isolate these areas, so only that will be shown into the key. So if I open the garbage mat, you can see that we're presented with a few options. We're presented with a rectangle and we're presented with an ellipse. If you can't see that, make sure that your open effects overlay is on. Make sure it's on and you'll be presented with this. Also, if you want to get rid of these annoying blue lines, scroll up and click off show paths and it'll disappear. As I was saying, you'll be presented with two different options, rectangle and ellipse, which in contrast, if you're using the Delta key, by the way, you have way more control so you can actually draw a mask. But the 3D key, we're only presented with a rectangle and ellipse, which is fine. Still gets the job done. And essentially what you can see is happening is everything which is outside of the mask is being shown. Everything which is currently in the mask is being hidden. So if I wanted to hide the chair, I can actually draw the mask right here. I can zoom out. I can draw the mask right here and everything that's basically outside of the mask is being shown. But typically I don't tend to use a garbage mat this way. I tend to do it the other way around because I'd much rather have whatever is in the garbage mat to be shown and everything which is outside to be hidden. Therefore, I'm going to press invert. And now as you can see, everything which is outside of the mask is being masked out and everything which is inside of the mask is being shown. So if I wanted to show just the legs, I can do that. If I wanted to show just the dog, I can do that. If I wanted to show the dog on a chair, I can do that right here. I can adjust the mask because it is literally just a mask any which way I want. And as it being a mask, I have these controls right here. So if I wanted to soften the edges a little bit, as you can see, it's softening the edges and we have a blurred effect around the edge of the border, which may be what you want, may not be what you want, depends on your desired effect. We also have the broadening width and height. So if you wanted to adjust the mask without necessarily using these parameters here, you can do that with these scroll regions. You can also adjust the center of the box. It's the exact same thing if we click on ellipse. Literally the exact same thing. I tend to use rectangle because the majority of the time I'm probably going to be using it in this way. If you want to negate all of these effects and take the garbage mat off, all you need to do is press none. But again, I want the dog floating, which kind of looks cool. So I'm going to go to rectangle, make sure invert is on. Now everything which is shown with inside the garbage mat is being shown. Everything which is outside is being hidden. So now, if I turn off effects overlay and I play this back, I mean, we have this, which is, it's not bad. It's actually not bad. It's not the greatest. It's not terrible, not bad. And I think this highlights really what the 3D key is all about. It enables you to quickly make keys. I say quickly, we'll get into that later, but make adjustments and key out green screen footage directly within the edit page and have fairly decent performance. If I was to put this in Fusion and use the Delta key, I could actually do this much faster, but I won't be able to play it back in real time. Absolutely no chance. Okay, so we have two other footage right here. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm not going to walk through every parameter. I'm just going to do it so you can see my method of doing it. So we have this footage here. I'm going to click onto it, make sure effects overlay is on. I'm going to draw here. Straight away, you can see we have a decent key. It's not the greatest. If I go down to output and I click alpha black and white, you can see this. You can still see that we don't have a solid color. Ideally, we want a solid black and a solid white. We don't want any gray areas unless we want transparency. So for like hair and stuff. But there's no hair in this image, so I want this to be a solid black and white. So essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the matte finesse controls. We're going to go down. I'm going to denoise this image just a little bit. Doesn't need it too much. I'm going to clean the black. Straight away, we have this, which looks great. I'm going to clean the white a little bit, so we have way more of a solid color. Great. In and out ratio. That looks fine to me. I don't necessarily need to mess with any black or white clips. It looks great. And I don't necessarily need a garbage mat. I'm going to go back to final composite. Okay. And this seems to look not bad. It's not bad. It's playing back 24 frames per second. The key looks okay. It actually looks pretty good. If we click onto our clip, we go to effects and we go to alpha black and white. We can see we've got a solid black and a solid white. So it's quite a good key. And yeah, it looks great. Next, we have this. We have the reporter, and this is going to be very, very interesting. So we're going to approach this the exact same way. Make sure open effects is on. I've got my 3D key already on. Use the picker tool, draw part of green, and straight away it's done a decent job. But if I get rid of this, you can see that it's all lies. The job is horrendous. So we're going to use this. We're not going to have anything underneath it because our eyes will actually be lying to us. And this looks like a decent key, but we have quite a bit of spill. So let me try adding some despill. Yep, despill works great for this. It's literally picked up the edges and any color leakage, and it's done a very clean key very quickly. So if I now put this underneath and I play it, it's actually not bad at all. It looks like it looks pretty good. If I use this time-lapse footage, it looks very good. In fact, I'm very impressed, and it's fairly quick. But I personally think that this may not be as accurate or as clean as we think. So in order to check this, I'm going to click onto our clip. I'm going to go back to effects. I'm going to scroll down to output and click alpha, highlight, black and white. And now we can see we want it to be a solid black and a solid white. And right now this is not the case. Therefore, our key is not as great as we thought. Now, hair is normally a tricky one when dealing with keying as well. But first and foremost, let's get the background to be a solid black color because we want that to be perfect. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is going to open up our matte finesse controls. We're going to denoise the image just a little bit, not too much. Probably 0.2. That looks good enough for me. And I'm going to clean the black. And this looks great. This actually looks much better. But as you can see, when I'm doing that, we're losing a little bit of the hair, which is not what we want. I'm going to try and do it to the best of my ability, keying out the black, making sure there's no gray parts, because again, gray is transparent. We don't want any transparency. We want it to be solid colors. I mean, you might want it to be transparent, but I don't. I want it to be a solid color. So clean black, that seems to be good. I'm going to clean white a bit, just so we can bring back any parts that we may have lost once doing a clean black. Not bad. Blur radius, I'm not going to mess with that. In and out ratio, I'm going to play with that. That seems to do much better. You can see in the corner right here, without the in and out ratio. Without the in and out ratio, we have like a little white spot here. Now I could easily adjust this by using a garbage mat, but I'm feeling kind of lazy, so I'm going to use the in and out ratio just to adjust that. If I adjust that, we get rid of that, and we also pull in some of detail of the hair back. So we have this. It's not bad straight away. I don't think I need to shrink or grow any of the matte. So now that I've adjusted some parameters, actually, if I click despill, it actually brings and introduces green into the image. So again, what you need to remember is this isn't necessarily the complete keying suite of tools you have within Davinci Resolve 17. If you use the Delta key, you have much better parameters and customization as to what is being despilled, and you can also adjust color which is introduced to your image, and also how much of the effect has happened. Right now, we literally just have this, and it's not necessarily working, so I've had to take off despill. So try to problem solve when you can. It's not going to be perfect every time. But now if I drag the time lapse underneath her, you see we have a fairly decent key. It's not perfect. It's fairly decent. I can't play back, my computer's too slow. But you can see it's not bad. I can change this. I can add footage underneath it. We can add some clouds. Yeah, the weather's great. In fact, we can slide this up. I can go to my effects library, go to a title. Just gonna add basic text. We can put basic text behind her. You can put snow, even though it's not snowing. I mean, yeah, sure. In fact, look at that. Look at that. That's not bad. Again, my computer's just chugging it off. But again, you get the point. This is a decent key. The hair seems to be quite good as well. We don't necessarily have any craziness going wrong with the hair. it is quite blurred, but for an effect which is done right within the edit page, it's not bad. I was going to do this one here, showing you how to key out memes, but you get the point. This video is going to be way too long. Way too long. In fact, I'm going to do it real quick and get back to you when the video's done. Actually, one thing you might note is when you're getting memes, sometimes you might be getting them off YouTube, sometimes you might get them on the internet. If they aren't necessarily of a high quality, you'll start to get this, which is a crazy amount of artifacts. As such, you might not be able to get a clean key a lot of the time. So even if I use my Final Composite, I go to Alpha Black and White, I go to my Finesse controls, and I try to clean up this image as best as I can. If I go to my final output, this is terrible. This is actually terrible. Shrink, radius in. Okay, so this is probably the best I'm going to be able to get it without having to go to the Fusion page. So yeah, just be careful when getting memes or footage that has a footage that's not necessarily a high quality from the internet, because you might not actually be able to key it out as well, because as you can see, the quality isn't as high. So the key isn't its best, but we've actually got a decent key. I mean, that's not bad at all. Okay, so now let's talk about my conclusion. Do I think this key is actually good? Yes, also no. Now I can properly explain now you've seen my process of going through it. In my personal opinion, if I have to spend more than 15 to 20 seconds, no, not even 20 seconds. If I have to spend 15 seconds tweaking a key in any sort of way, I am going to not use this effect. Reason being is because in that 20 seconds, I can very quickly go within the Fusion tab, use the Delta keyer and have way more customization, way more effects, and get a much cleaner key way faster, all in the exact same time. So if I can spend the same time keying out an image, but get a better result, I'm going to be doing that every single time. Now the reason why this effect is great, the 3D key is great, is because you can play it back in real time. If I was to bring any footage within the Fusion tab and key out an image, it's going to take performance power to play it back. It's going to have to render. It doesn't matter how powerful your computer is, straight away you're not going to get real-time playback immediately. You're going to have to wait a few seconds for it to compute. Also, the fact that I don't necessarily need to leave the edit page is quite powerful, because I know a lot of people may not necessarily be keying out of professionalism. They may not be doing it as a job. A lot of people may be just keying for YouTube videos or for memes, or they may not necessarily want to spend the time tweaking controls they may not understand. I'm going to have a Delta keying video very soon, so watch out for that. But they may not necessarily want to spend the time to do that. So if I'm editing a video and I want quick results, a fairly good key, and I want to stay within the edit page, I'm using this keyer for sure. It's good for that. You can get real-time results, fairly quick results, and it doesn't take as much processing power. But again, if I'm spending longer than 15, 20 seconds finessing a key, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it within the edit page. I can do this within a Fusion page and get way better results, way cleaner results with way more customization. That's just my opinion. Your results may vary. So yeah, let's get to some comments, shall we? Okay, so thank you to AV8 with Mike. Thank you to SDA Dan Cars, M Khan, Roland, Terminator Extended, Vanessa Africa. Who else have we got here? Henry T, Jonathan Helton, South Philly 28th, Jerome Weaver. Thank you, Andy Harris. You were exceptionally helpful right here. John and Esco Mario. So we're going to leave it here, guys. If you like the video, please share, subscribe, comment, like. I'm going to try and make more tutorials for you. I've been making tutorials for like 10 to 11 days straight, releasing them. So I needed a little bit of a 2-day break. Hope that's okay. Also, Black Friday week is coming up. It's this week. So for this week and next week, I'm going to have up to 50% off all of my products. All of my products. So that's LUTs, that's presets, that's sales, that's online courses. That's my Patreon. Yep, we've got Patreon exclusives on there. Discord server, you know. But yeah, guys, so if you want to support me, click the link in the description. And without further ado, I'll see you on the next video, guys. Peace.